This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
I love how she gives us the green light to be creative and express ourselves, and then at the same time gives us insight into what's coming up within that expression. She is an art therapist. Fascinating. What I've learned so far, and we're going to bring her back in here and see where this goes today. She's our professional of the year. She is Barbara Robertson back on the program. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. It's like I always have my marker and a piece of paper ready because, yeah, a lot of times we'll try a couple of different things.
Yeah, that's right. We were trying out making different kinds of marks last week, and I wanted to revisit something that happened near the end of our session last week when you showed me some of the marks that you had made using straight lines, and each one of them was in some kind of an enclosure, like you had a border, a boundary around each one. You have something that's close to that
I,
that you
I
might
do.
show us?
I do. And I remember that came up. We were discussing it. And I didn't realize I was doing it until you said it, but kind of like what we're talking about here and just these are call them like squares, modules or whatever. And you told me to draw lines and just, kind of be free, do whatever you want to do. There was another exercise that was circular, but referring to
Right.
the ones that, were the lines. So I was like, I got that there.
That's right. And you said something about that's just the way I'm wired. I just draw like that. And I jumped right over what should have been a healthy boundary that I ignored and said, that's your safety zone. Now, I have
Hmm.
no way of knowing if that's true or not. And when I gave it some thought later on, I thought, wait a minute, what did I just do there? So I thought it might be good to kind of revisit when a therapist isn't right on, when what she says might not land with you. What happens then? So I don't know if that landed with you or not. Do you
I
remember
it
having any sort of response when I said something like that?
When you said that, we were toward the end of the podcast. So we're
Right.
kind of like wrapping things up, and it didn't initially resonate. And now that you're bringing it up again, I'm going to say, not just because you're here, that you are right. And I would call it a safety thing. And I do remember saying that I looked at each one of those creative expressions and the lines and everything. I look at it as it's got to be a separate piece. Like I don't want to say like I'm a perfectionist. Used to be, got off that train. I would look at it more of like this is a finished piece here. These are lines going in this direction. This one over here is another one, and that's a finished product right there. That's why it's in a box. It's a square. This one over here gets its own square. I don't even know I'm doing it until you brought it to my attention, and then I look at it and I'm like, yeah. And why am I doing that? I think maybe it's a safety thing, or maybe I feel safer having it all encapsulate each one of them, each thought, if you will, if the lines are going this way, that way, in their own little world, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. It makes sense. And it makes sense in a lot more possibilities than just conferring safety in your system. I think there could be lots of different things that it could mean. And that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up today, because in art therapy, there is a sort of lurking danger that an art therapist might overinterpret. And that is something that could resonate with the client, but it also could land in the wrong place, like a place that doesn't resonate with the client. And then that puts the client in a little bit of a tough position because they might be thinking, well, the therapist is supposed to know about these things. Maybe that is what it is, even though it sounds weird to me, or maybe I should feel that way, or Anyway, it really muddies the waters, or it has the potential to. So I wanted to go back because in my to my way of thinking, a good therapist, or actually anybody who wants to keep a relationship functioning well in a healthy way, can always go back and revisit what might have felt like a mistake. To check in with the other person and say, how did that land with you? Was I so far off base? What else could it have been? Did you feel any sort of way that I jumped right in and made that statement about something you had done that came from your spirit, your soul, your preferences? I'm
I
kind of
I
open
I
to it.
feel that you were on target, and I'm not, offended, or like it was. I don't see it. I'm not the therapist, but you even saying, a safety thing, I have to go along with that, and I'm not going along with that just for conversation purposes. I feel that way. That's why I put those in little modules, little boxes. Even the circles were their own little unit or universe, if you will. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what do we want? We all want to feel safe. That, I guess, that's my way of feeling safe.
Right, right. And I guess a lot of that would depend on the listener too, in terms of what you identified as feeling safe, and whether, and I would think that this might be more challenging for guys than for women, because typically in our culture, the man is supposed to take on the protective role. And so for a man to acknowledge, yes, I need safety too, might, be a little bit challenging for some guys who maybe been raised not to really acknowledge their emotional spirit, their emotional experiences openly at all.
Mm. Well,
So
look at our society. Big boys don't cry. Man up. All of that.
that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. And then what? You tell me I have to be safe and this is just a drawing. What are you talking about? Are you nuts? So there's that possibility. Anyway, I'm glad it didn't land that way with you.
Mm-mm.
Um, and I think there are lots of other kind of ways to look at it as well. So you want to just kick around some other possibilities.
You lead the way.
Okay, so lots of different ways to look at the same kind of image. So with those enclosures, you're right, each one is its own little universe.
Hmm.
And we could look at the energy that is contained in each one of those compartments and feel how they're different.
Um, yes. And there is different energy in them. I detect that. And I will tell you, even if I wanted to, this is kind of ridiculous, even if I wanted to connect them together,
Uh-huh.
it would feel off. It would feel weird. It would not feel genuine and authentic. It would just me trying to conform. If you just said, Steve, put lines in between them and make something so that they're joined together. Yeah, or I could do it, but it's not going to be real. It's, I'm just following the instructions because I just wouldn't do that. I don't know why. Yeah, they're in their own little island. That's what it is.
Right. So somehow or other, you see them as not connected,
True.
and maybe they're not. Can you come up with a descriptive term for each of those three areas, those three zones? Let's call them energy zones.
Okay. Um, well, the one here with the zigzag,
Yeah.
the lines are all connected. Um, I'd have to think deep about, should we give it a name, a direction? Where do you want me to go?
Well, let's break it down into the most simple, basic terms to start with. Is it active or static? Dynamic, moving, or still?
Active and moving,
Okay, okay, so we got movement going on in there.
without a doubt, and that would be that one right there.
Right, right. Now, what kind of movement? Is it fast or slow to you?
Hmm. And for anybody that can't see this, picture bold lines basically one line and zigzagging left to the right, left to the right, left to the right, and it's in a square box. Um,
Right. And let me just add that the zigzags are close together. So it's like a
okay.
spring that compressed in a way.
I see it as a spring. So inherently that gives me movement, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't, I do get movement from that. And then the one next to it, which is just vertical lines in a box, almost looks like a jail cell. The door
Right.
one.
Right. The
Um,
vertical bars. It's like are those wrought iron coverings over windows on the first floor in
yeah,
cities.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
each is relatively the same distance from each other.
Right. Right. It's very
That,
evenly placed.
that's, I don't know why, but I'm going to say that was intentional.
Okay.
I don't see me doing it unless they're going to be relatively uh, uniform. Why? I have no idea. I don't know. Maybe that's the perfectionism thing floating out there that I try to push away, and it just kind of creeps its way back in there. I don't know.
Well, what if the perfectionism thing in this case was okay? What if the perfectionism, see the danger about trying to pitch something that we feel maybe doesn't serve us a lot is sometimes we can pitch it all together and forget that we can actually apply it once in a while.
I agree. I agree. I
So
don't think
what
it's
might
not a
go ahead?
bad thing. It's not, what I'm referring
Yeah.
to, a lot of us are perfectionists, often for a reason. And we can identify some of those reasons, but I could answer why I am. Um, but I feel use it when it works. So let's say I brought that out of my back pocket to do this design because it works for me. I like the fact that they're equally spaced. I'm good with that.
So what is it about the energy of something that is equally spaced that is pleasing to you? You might need to just kind of stare at that for a minute yourself
Hmm.
and just what is coming up for me as I see that regular pattern of line, space, line, space, line, space, line, space.
Uniformity.
Okay. Okay. Like comparing it to the zigzags next to it, kind of play off that. How is that one different?
I like the uniformity because there's predictability.
Ah,
Um,
predictable. Yes. That is the wonderful thing about order.
yes, and I'm kind of that way. I'm a Virgo, so we're organized. Um,
Married one. Know all about it.
yeah, yeah. Um, and
Yeah.
let me refine that. I'm a reformed Virgo.
Oh,
Let a lot of that stuff go. And just, cherry pick the things that support. And maybe that's drawing this uh, module with the vertical lines. Maybe that's part of it. But comparing it to the zigzag, um, to me, the zigzag is free. Even though you
okay.
might look at it, others may look at it and say, well, they're very, it's very calculated, the left to the right, the left to the right. It's not like freeform all over the place. But
Yeah.
I like clean. I like clean lines. Um,
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
it. And here's another thing. Um, I think I shared, I wanted to be a syndicated cartoonist back in the day.
Right.
And I
Right.
still, yeah, I get a moment, I'll pick up, an old book and, with cartoons, whatever. The thing that gravitates toward me is the use of light and dark. And
Uh,
you got that going on with the zigzag. There's, a good dose of heavy dark with those thick lines, but then
yeah.
you have some space around it. There's contrast. That's the word I'm going for. Contrast.
Like, yeah. Yeah. Now, I don't know if I'm seeing things from the light in in the digital image or not, but as I look at the vertical lines, it looks like they might be heavier, thicker, wider at the base than at the top.
Let me take a look at that.
See if you're seeing that in person with it.
I am, and I believe that is either where I started it and the marker is just starting to get a little light in terms of the pigment. And because
Right.
it is
Right.
going from darker to lighter. And as I look at it, I kind of like that because it gives a little bit of texture, a little roughness to it. It's not a dark line. That's it. From, completely dark all the way through. It's got a little bit
Right.
of something going on there.
Right. I mean, so there are areas that are outside the zone of absolute perfection.
Yeah, but
Well,
not much. But
you
not
would,
much. I will admit.
well, no, because there are a couple that don't reach the top all the way. There's a little sort of extra width on the top line, just off to one side, and then it sort of narrows down in the other side. The bottom line is thicker, and to me, sort of gives it a feeling of groundedness. So even though there's kind of some staticness in the regularity of the line placement, I'm also getting a feeling of movement, like maybe upward movement.
I never looked at it that way, and definitely, I don't know why that line at the bottom is thicker and more defined and dark. I never realized that. And that could be any line. That could be the top line. That could be the left line, the right. It
True,
happens to be
true.
the bottom, the baseline, the bottom line.
Yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
absolutely.
Wow.
And there's something that's really valid about not knowing how come it showed up that way. A lot of what we do is incidental to the materials, to the energy that we had making that line. Maybe you pressed harder, maybe it seemed a little sketchy when you did the top, so you wanted the bottom to show up more. It could be anything that really doesn't have a direct connection to your inner heart. But as we look at it, then we can also invite ourselves to give an interpretation to it or to respond to it as it is for
Hmm.
whatever reason we got there and decide, do we like the way that feels, or would we not do that again? Would we maybe do that on purpose again because we like it, or would we be careful to make the lines on all four boundaries the same next time because that would feel
Interesting.
better?
I'd have to think about that, but um, I'm not going to discount what you said about the grounding because grounding is important to me. My feet are on a grounding mat right now.
Oh,
um,
Arne, do you do the earthing thing? Yeah.
yeah, it goes right to the ground lug on the wall, and $20
Yes.
on
Yeah, they
Amazon,
learned about
and
that.
and you're always grounded. So I think you might have nailed something there that I intend unintentionally or not consciously put that bottom line as the grounding line of which the other ones come from. And interestingly, too, the bottom line is darker, and all the lines coming out of it going upward start darker and get lighter.
And get lighter.
Never even
Yeah.
thought that. Never realized it.
So there's kind of an interesting contradiction there. The lines are grounded, they're connected with gravity. Gravity is holding them down, and at the same time, they're lifting up.
Never thought of that. And I'm gonna say I subscribe to what you're saying there. Like I think it's something going on
Yeah,
there.
it's funny how that works. And as I look at it and think about, and sort of articulated the lifting up, what I noticed in myself was my spine suddenly got a little straighter.
Hmm.
And I lifted up my torso into a straighter posture, and that felt different. It felt really good to be that way.
Yeah. Wow. I'm
So,
doing I'm doing the same thing right now, and it's like, all right, yeah, that's the way it should be, maybe.
or maybe it's just, it's a way that we stand when we're feeling positive about something.
Hmm.
We say we feel uplifted when something good happens.
Um, I've never asked this, but now we're at this juncture, so I feel I need to. Is everything we do any kind of creative expression, art, whatever,
Hmm.
is there something intentionally done? Whether these lines, where, whatever, and we might not know what everything means and why I might do it this way, somebody else might do it that way. But every aspect, is there a connection to a reason within?
I believe that it's possible. I think that I've read, and I have no idea how research has determined this or, has guessed it. Maybe it might be a more accurate description,
Hmm.
but I've heard some speculation that about 80% of our behavior comes from our subconscious.
I hear that number talking to lots of psychologists that and hypnotherapists. It's more like 90 to
Yes.
95%
Oh,
subconscious.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 So, there may be a part of us that you draw that heavier line going horizontally, and you're planning to put the rectangle above that, and you go, some part of you inside goes, yeah, that's good. That's heavy. Now make the rest of them lighter.
Mm.
I don't I don't know, but I think that's possible because I think, and that's another thing about doing artwork is we're interacting with what is happening as we are drawing, as we're putting, dents into clay, as we're slapping paint on a surface. We're responding to what's happening in that moment.
Mm.
And that is giving feedback to that hidden part of our system that is like, the iceberg under the water surface that is sending up all different kinds of energy. But in terms of responding to what's happening, do we like that or do we not like it?
As talking to you and learning about all this, I'm getting it from within. Everything we do is intentional. There is a reason that I did that line that way. Then I did that one that way. It wasn't just, well, I'm going to take the pen and just scribble. No, there's
Exactly.
there's
Exactly.
always a reason. And you know, with a moment left here, the other one is again in a box, module, whatever. There are
Mhm.
horizontal, there are vertical lines. For the most part, it they're kind of equally spaced, but this
Yep.
this actually is my nostalgia and brings me back to being a kid drawing cartoons because cross hatching is what that was called, if I remember
Cross
correctly.
hatching.
And when I
Yes.
first did it, it was like, whoa, I have texture. I can shade something in without making it all black, and it looks really cool. And I mean, I did this kind of fast, but I can do it in such a way where it looks, like almost computer generated, in terms of,
And it's cool because it's bringing back that feeling of competence in you, that feeling of accomplishment and discovery and capacity, capability.
mm,
All
yeah.
those things are going to create a tall spine in you too.
Yeah, it's out of all of it,
Uh-huh.
I would say I'm more proud of this one down here only because it's a cool effect and reminds me of drawing cartoons. It's like it
Right.
brings me
And
back.
that may have sort of given you some of your first armor against being picked on in school, which is something everybody experiences a little bit of. But once we discover something that we can recognize that we're good at, we don't need anyone else to tell us because we felt it, you
Yes,
know?
I agree 100%, and I think I revealed through you that drawing cartoons was my therapy. Drawing cartoons was my escape. I would go into the basement, set my stuff up, I would draw, but I will say I needed validation from others. It made me feel like your spine is really, like proud
Yes,
soldier when others say, that came out really good. That's, like, whoa.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, we need both. We need both, but it's
Yeah.
particularly wonderful when we have a good feeling about it and someone outside of us agrees or concurs.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And
You find the right words. You really do. And it connects with me. And this is how you operate. And I think it's fantastic. What we
this is
learn.
exactly right. So why I say artwork is heart work, because it does, just sort of magically go to the heart of us
Mm.
and show us what we value, what matters to us, how we matter.
And what I just learned here in this segment today is that it flows out of you. Like if you were a traditional therapist, we're having a conversation, I might be holding some stuff back. I might change the way I verbalize it. I might try to feel safe. You getting me right here. This is for good or bad. I don't know, but it's just coming out of you because you think you're just drawing and just throwing stuff on a page, but you're
Yeah.
revealing things at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. And, we always have the choice of how closely we want to look. Sometimes just doing it is enough without putting a label on it or a descriptor.
Yeah. Wow. Epiphanies today, gotta say. How do we connect with you? This is what you do.
Yes.
You do this virtually too, like we're doing it here. Yeah.
Yes, I do. I do sessions online with people. I can consult with you if you kind of have a hankering to be more creative. I can help
Mm.
you kind of figure out what's the best approach for you to do that. My website is Robertson Art Therapy, LLC, all spelled out.com. My email is brobertson.atr, not ART, but ATR at gmail.com. I'd be happy to hear from anybody whose curiosity is a little bit sparked by my conversations with Steve here.
And you know what I'm gonna throw in there too? If you want to just draw something, take a picture of it, send it, text it, whatever, instant feedback, Steve at gmail.com. We can make it anonymous too, whatever. And let's take a look at it.
Cool.
What comes up for an art therapist, and maybe what comes up for me when I look at it. I might have a different view. I don't know. Probably
Sure.
will.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds like it could be fun.
yeah. Always great having you on here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Steve. I just love coming on and talking about this part of my life that it just has brought me so much joy and feeling of satisfaction and fulfillment. Thanks.
Agreed. And you give us the courage and the green light to just express through art. And I think a lot of
Yes.
us don't because many of us say, I'm not an artist. I can't draw. I'm not creative. Yeah, we all are. We all are. We don't have to be.
No,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. And my latest kind of realization is that your brain has no idea who you are. Go to the heart.
Yes. It all comes from there. You got to get the brain out of the
All
way
comes from
sometimes.
there.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. Okay.
Looking forward next time we get together.
Yeah, you too.
Appreciate
Thanks.
it. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.